Next item, Commissioners, is number 6, an application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, docket number 16-1646, block 633, lot 7501, and this is for 744 Greenwich Street in the Greenwich Village Historic District, a building designed by Abbas Shah and built in 2006. And the application is to alter the penthouse enclosure, install HVAC equipment, and replace railings and equipment enclosure.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Emma Waterloo, Preservation Staff.
Very good.
The item before you is for 744 Greenwich Street in the Greenwich Village Historic District. The building is located mid-block on the west side of the street between West 11th Street and Perry Street. This is a modern building approved by the Commission in 2004. So this is the existing condition. The proposal is to alter the penthouse and replace the metal railings here and at the top with glass railings, as shown in this slide here. Other work at the rear and roof of the penthouses are shown in this presentation, but these alterations will not be visible from a public thoroughfare and are being reviewed at staff level. The project applicant is here to further explain the proposal and answer your questions.
Thank you, Emma.
Hi, I'm James Ramsey. I'm the owner of the design firm RAD. So I'm here to talk to you today about 744 Greenwich, 6-story building completed in 2006. And there are 5 residences in this building because the top is a duplex. The majority of our renovation has to do with the interior spaces. However, there are a number of moves that will impact the exterior of the building that I'd like to highlight to you. Right? So just to be as sort of efficient as possible about this, there are 3 main categories of what we're proposing to do here. And if you look at this elevation, you can kind of see all of those encapsulated here. Number 1, we're proposing a slight modification to the mechanicals that are on the roof. This is work that is not visible to any street location anywhere. Number 2, the fenestration along the eastern wall and a portion of the northern wall we are proposing to alter, as you can see here. Our client has requested sort of more glass and sort of a stronger connection to the outdoor terrace space. And again, that penthouse is set back. And so we are proposing to install a sliding glass system. And this has a couple of effects, which I'll run through in a second. The third category of what we're proposing to do is to replace the current aluminum, extruded aluminum powder-coated aluminum railing with non-reflective glass. And so I will run through each of these just by quickly sort of showing various vantage points and actual photography of the mock-ups we did. So if you look at this diagram, you can see that the majority of the viewpoints that actually have clear sight lines to what we're proposing happen along the eastern edge of Greenwich Street. Excuse me. Just so I can see the slides a little bit clearer myself, sorry. Okay, and if you look at what we're proposing, you can see that the northern and the eastern edge of the penthouse are slightly visible from any number of locations. This is a mock-up that we've done to illustrate something that's happening to the eastern edge of our penthouse facade. Basically, when we remove the masonry, when we remove the masonry and the existing glass and install a system that has a track, like the one we're proposing, the track actually has a thickness which has the net effect of pushing the cornice out a little bit. So that's about 18 inches right there, that the cornice actually travels a little bit east. And
But the plane of the glass is at the same plane as the building currently?
well, the plane of the glass, it varies because it is a sliding system.
Okay.
So a portion of it is in the current plane, current existing plane. Of course, we've lost some of the thickness of the masonry in having done this too, and in doing so kind of picked up a few square feet. So this also has an effect on the sort of northern corner of what we're looking at here, which I'll show you in 1 second.
But not on the FAR of the building, right?
No, then that was an important issue to have to
Right.
address,
Okay,
yes.
it was.
I mean, I'm sure our client would be very pleased to gain a few more square feet. However, as a result of that change in thickness, this is the corner, this is the eastern side, this is the northern side. We've had to actually come in a bit with that glass right there in order to address exactly what you're saying about the FAR. And so if you look at a rendering,
But couldn't you just keep it as it is right now?
what's that?
I mean, you've moved the glass forward, right? And you've cut it back from the side. Am I right in saying that? Or did I misunderstand?
Let me rewind to the plans real quick.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe because that would be the easiest way
Okay.
of discussing this. If you look at what we're doing here, because of the thickness of the sliding track, it actually pushes a little bit of square footage into that eastern edge here, right? And to accommodate the square feet that we're gaining here, we're actually pulling
Okay,
that
got it.
fenestration back a little
Okay.
bit.
Actually, this is helpful because it sort of tells me how much it's actually moving.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see that they stack, so they're not all exactly in one
Right.
plane.
But why does that require then the corners to stick out as much as you've shown us in the,
Because the track itself is over a foot deep. It actually. In
so what are you
missing the
gaining?
structure
What is
itself-
it right now? It's like 4 inches and now it's going to be a foot?
What is 4 inches?
The sort of the thickness of the glass right now
The
and
thickness of
the brick?
fenestration right now, yeah, it's about 4 inches, something like that.
And now it's going to become a foot because you have the 2 tracks, is that right?
Over a foot, yeah.
Over a foot.
Yeah,
And so, and then the corners
there are
has,
4 tracks.
okay, there are 4
The
tracks.
entire thing is mobile.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
These are people who really want to
Don't you
live in
some-
San Diego.
Right, but sometimes don't you have situations
They're
where
gonna
you
have to invest in
have,
a lot of paperweights.
couldn't you have, why does it have to have 4?
I mean, this is just a design feature that allows us to.
I only say that because it seems that the corner sticks out by, in one of your, the mock-up, it seems
Yeah.
to stick out by another like 1.5 feet or something.
That's right.
Okay.
But the glass is forward from where it is, that's existing?
The majority of the glass is forward from its existing condition because installing the sliding system and taking into account missing the structure of the building itself forces it to move a little bit.
If you look at the top plane, you see the columns are engaged in the brick piers. If you look at the bottom plane, you see that the
Precisely.
columns are now free. And if you look to the left, on the bottom plane, you see how that end wall just kind of L's forward a little bit, whereas it didn't on the plan above. So that really is the extent of the.
But the
Okay.
building department has allowed this to occur without any FAR change.
But we've
Because
done
they cut it back,
We've
right.
done a zoning analysis. We're apples to apples
Okay.
on the
And
FAR.
setbacks,
Not an issue in this location. Okay, let me fast forward back to where we were really quickly. Okay, looking up at the cornice, this is kind of the net effect that you would just perceive from the street. The image at right is the rendering, sort of Photoshop job showing what that would actually look like. Our mock-up from the street. From directly in front of the building, and again, the Photoshop images are always on the right here.
So it's really, it seems like it's not discernible for most part, that
I would
projection.
argue that, certainly.
I mean, I'm just wondering, you
Thank
would
you for
argue
saying
that.
that.
Well, it just seems, it's odd because it seems, you've got the Photoshop portions. Okay, it's, okay.
I'm sorry, yes, on the left is the existing condition, that's just a straight photograph. On the right, we did a computer rendering with the
Okay.
actual accurate dimensions.
Got
And
it.
photoshopped it into the existing photograph.
The accurate.
The actual proposed dimensions, if you will, yes. Again, to the southeast of the building. And, okay, and so here's the third issue that I brought up about replacing the railings. What we've got, as you can see though, is a parapet, and the railings themselves in their existing condition sort of back mount to that parapet. What we're proposing to do is to mount a piece of glass in that exact same location that is non-reflective so as to be less visible from the street. And, okay, well, these are all the visible views. And just as sort of one last thing, just to illustrate the mechanism of the railing that we're proposing.
That's glass, and the other is there.
Yes, and I actually have a sample that we've brought today that I'd like to you open that, you can sort of see an example. It kind of looks like it's not there, which is an interesting concept.
All right, questions? Any questions? It was a very succinct presentation. We'll take testimony. Barbara Zay?
I was coached to be succinct.
Barbara Zay of the Historic Districts Council. When this structure was built in the Greenwich Village Historic District, the punched, well-defined openings at the penthouse enclosure were part of the approved contextual design. HDC does not support the removal of this feature, especially considering the structural changes it would necessitate. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more speakers? All right, Community Board 2 has recommended approval of this application. All right, do you want to respond to anything that was said? Okay, any more questions for the... Yes, at the penthouse. All right, if there are no other questions for the applicant, we can close the hearing. Second? Okay. All right. Questions or comments or concerns? It seems that this will, as a result of this, there'll be some more glass at the penthouse level. I actually think that the building that was approved by this commission has come out very nicely and fits in very well. But I think that the change that they're proposing to more glass would not make it inappropriate, and it seems that in terms of the shots, their mock-up and the impact of any change in planes would also not have a material effect. Any concerns?
In particular, because it's extremely difficult to see from the street level.
Right.
The differences, and I realize that there's sort of there's an angle question, where
Right.
where are you? But if you look at that, even the bumping out of the cornice, obviously when you're very close to it, it only looks like a couple inches. It looks a little more prominent when you're further away, but it's not that dramatic one way or the other.
Right,
I think it could be argued too that we might have approved it this way initially.
right. I agree. All right, if there are no other concerns, we can read the resolution into the record. Michael, would you like to do that? Yes.
Alrighty. Regarding 744 Greenwich Street in the Greenwich Village Historic District, the application is to alter the penthouse enclosure, install HVAC equipment, and replace railings, and an equipment enclosure. I recommend approval, finding that the alterations to the penthouse and replacement of the railings at this modern building will not alter or eliminate any historic fabric of the historic district, that the change to the penthouse cladding and fenestration pattern, creating an overhang and glass railings, will only be visible from a public thoroughfare, from limited view from a distance, that the glass railings will feature a clear, non-reflective coating, helping them recede from view, that the alterations, when seen from public thoroughfares, will be subtle variations which are compatible with this modern building and will not draw undue attention to themselves, and that the work will not detract from the special historic and architectural character of this historic district.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, this application's